Mhm. Hello to everyone in the inclusive cannabis community. This is again Phil _ coming to you with another interview from our series of continuing conversations with cannabis professionals who are currently in the industry, making moves, doing different things, doing different occupations, gaining different experiences. So I actually have the pleasure of interviewing William Brown, who is currently a cannabis consultant with many years within the industry, as well as what we'll talk about today specifically as well, his formal education that he gained within the industry as well, and kind of his steps as he has officially actually making the announcement now, a Budtender with Windy City Cannabis. So congrats to him as well. But without further ado, I want to bring on William Brown. How you doing, William?
Doing good. How are you?
Really good, really good. Thank you for taking the time for this interview today. Excited to get to know a little bit more about you. And kind of on that note, tell us about you. Where are you from? Kind of what's your background and how did you get involved with cannabis?
Yeah, so I'm from Chicago. I was born here. I grew up between Chicago and the Bay Area. My mom moved to California's Bay Area when I was very young, and my father's side of the family is all out here.
Okay.
And my formal introduction to cannabis was probably when I was like, I don't know, like 13, 14, middle school. Just, a lot of people smoked cannabis around that time, and I just so happened to like learn about it from one of my peers, I'll say. Okay,
fair. And so you've been involved with cannabis from a consumer level, right? At the age of 13, between Chicago, between the Bay, with your parents and your upbringing. How did you decide on kind of saying, I want to pursue cannabis as a career? Where did that come into play?
Yeah, so that came into play. I would just say like me just being like a troubled teenager, if I'm being honest. I ended up going through like a lot of different stuff because of cannabis. Like I ended up going to rehab twice for cannabis as a youth. I went to Rosecrans as well as Gateway out here, which was, yeah, sorry about that.
No.
So yeah, I went to Rosecrans as well as Gateway, which were two rehab facilities, and they were both for cannabis. I had never done anything else at that time. And during that time, I actually learned way more about cannabis than I ever could have without going to those. And from there, I decided I wasn't going to stop using cannabis. And I pretty much started selling cannabis in high school to my friends and stuff. It probably wasn't the best decision at the time, but it definitely brought me to my path later on.
Okay. So in a way, cannabis, even though you said it kind of caused some issues personally, you've been able to take that and turn that around to now it, benefiting you as a career.
Yeah.
Did you so kind of within that time period, are we looking like at teens, early 20s?
Yeah, we're talking about teen years during the early stages, but during those stages around 2007, I was told about a cannabis college that I kind of kept my eye on throughout these years, and I'd always just dreamed of going there. Like that was like the ultimate goal, to go to school to grow cannabis and to learn more about the plant and to just learn, the history of, why it's illegal, why there's now medical use for it, just all of these different, questions that most people have. Right. And I would say when I was about 26 or so, I first started to try to go to the school. Like I first started to try to like save up money for it. And I just kept failing. Like, honestly, I literally kept failing as far as saving up money to go. And in 2017, I was like 27. I ended up going to Vegas and having one of the worst experiences of my life.
Okay.
And I came back and went to the school and just went in there just to like make myself feel better and just asked if there was any way possible that I could attend. And sure enough, they were having a scholarship program at the time, and you were supposed to write this amazing essay and submit it. And there were, a few categories of different people who were qualified to receive this scholarship. one was African Americans. Sure enough, I pretty much have always loved English, loved writing, was a wordsmith or a rapper when I was younger or whatever. And I pretty much just kept writing this essay over and over. I probably wrote my essay to Oaksterdam at least 8 times, at least 8 times.
And just for clarification for everyone listening, the name of the university is Oaksterdam University.
Correct. Right? Oaksterdam University. It's located in Oakland, California on Telegraph.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful. So I didn't want to cut you off. Just wanted to make sure we at least established the school. But you said that you submitted your essay and you got into the program? Yes,
I actually got into the program out of all of the submissions, all of the essays that were probably submitted. And I attended Oaksterdam University in 2018, and I graduated 4 months after, and then I interned for the school as well while working at a dispensary in San Francisco called the Apothecarium.
Right. And that's one of the most popular dispensaries out in that area. I've heard that name a lot.
Yes, very, very popular, very upscale.
And so with you, and I assume that probably during the time before you attended, you knew people probably in the industry.
Oh, yes.
What about saying, you know what, I want to go into a program? Why did you want to make that decision instead of maybe learning kind of in the field?
So there were a few things that kind of nudged me towards going that route. But one was a gentleman who I'll just keep anonymous by saying Buddy. And he told me pretty much that as an African American, at the scale that I was selling cannabis on a street level, that there weren't any good options. There wasn't a retirement. There wasn't a 401k or life insurance or dental or medical or vision or any of these things. And I started to look at it logically. You know, this is a person who's pretty much telling me this not to gain anything, because if I stop working with them, they stand to lose a lot of money. So I started to look at this logically, you know, and he also was always pushing me to look at, you see how it's becoming legal in more and more states medically? Well, it's going to start to do the same thing recreationally. And I started to really pick up on this.
I'm here. Sorry.
And then it's okay. And then sure enough, I really just made the push towards Oaksterdam. I mean, I had always watched the California cannabis market and how it was growing and budding, especially because I had lived out there with my mother for a number of years. And I always wanted to try my hand at working in the cannabis industry.
It's really dynamic because you at least got some insight from someone saying, hey, just some honest truth, because you said they couldn't benefit from them telling you this. They were just kind of being open with you about, hey, you should really think about how can you get ahead of what's happening and not just kind of react to it and make it worth your benefit. So where you're working within the guidelines of the law and not being penalized for doing the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah. And I think that was one of the turning stones for me to see that, you know, well, I can take this to another level or maybe even a professional level if I apply myself.
Exactly. Yeah. So what was your experience actually attending the university? Tell us about, would you describe it to just a normal college with a campus?
I would not. I would describe it as a normal college with a campus, true enough, but totally for cannabis. For cannabis. So going to Oaksterdam, you start from a seed all the way to harvest. You learn how to germinate a seed. You learn how to trim cannabis. You learn all of the steps in between of what you need to know to grow. Lighting, light cycles, you know, vegetation, what nutrients you should be giving your plants, what nutrients, you know, are the most expensive. They even gave us stuff that was cost effective for our first grows and stuff like that. It was a really unique class, and there were also a lot of unique instructors that came through to speak with our class as well. I really enjoyed the experience, but the main thing that I took away from the experience in all honesty, was the networking and the connections. And I think that's where I kind of shined the most.
Okay. Yeah. Well, networking is everything when it comes to building your career. But what I think is really great that you talk about just the more scientific specifics about the industry, and then also were there also discussions about the business aspects too?
Oh, absolutely. There was a lot of discussion about the business aspect as well as the history and law, which is really important to the business aspect. You know, learning your own local laws can be the difference between having a successful career in cannabis and, you know, fizzling out within your first year. So it was a really in-depth course, and a lot of the people who have graduated from there are in the industry and cannabis professionals to this day. And it was definitely something that I say was pivotal in my cannabis journey.
Wow. Well, it sounds like Oaksterdam really prepared you for what led to be a very successful career. You've actually had several positions within the industry. Can you tell us more about kind of the positions that you started with and how you grew?
Yes, I started at the apothecarium. I worked there for a little under a year, and then I transferred over to High Fidelity in Berkeley, which was a little bit closer to where I was staying at the time. And that was really nice because it's like in Berkeley, and it was a little bit more slow paced than the apothecarium, which was very fast paced and very professional and very upscale. It was kind of a more laid back dispensary, which I like. And then later that same year on 420, I got the opportunity to work at my dream job, which was at Harborside. Okay. And that's where I stayed for over a year until July of last year.
Okay, wonderful. When it comes to the different positions, and I guess for anyone that wants to like get into either, what advice would you recommend or say that people should maybe prepare for within each role?
As far as someone who would maybe want to go into bud tending, I would just say learn as much as you can about the plant. If you have great customer service skills, you'll probably do just fine. You want to just always bring compassion with you to work, because, you know, you never know what other people are going through. And this is still considered something that provides medical relief for a lot of patients. Yeah. And yeah, you should do fine. Just be kind and patient with your patients and kind and patient to yourself, and you'll do great. Like it's not a lot of times people put too much pressure on themselves when bud tending, when they already know so much about the products and about the plan and stuff like that. And a lot of times it's the people. You sometimes just have to slow down and just, you know, take it one client at a time and just, you know, go for the one-on-one approach. And I think that's where I kind of shined as far as cannabis consulting. Is I always try to individualize all the information that I'm giving to whoever I'm dealing with.
You know, I was going to ask about that because of what you do. I wanted to ask kind of your style of consulting, like, you know, what really makes your experience with you unique and special?
So with me, you definitely get a catered one-on-one experience. I'm not going to speak to you the same way that I would speak to the next person. I definitely take my time with people. I've had consultations that have ran over 2 hours and I've missed my entire lunch break because of it. But I always love those because I really get to give people a lot more information and make them feel more comfortable when using the products that they're trying to buy. A lot of people don't have a lot of money. And so what you buy really means a lot more in that case. And so I try to always give people the options of what would work best and what would be the most cost effective in those situations. In other situations, I've had people who want the very best they can smoke. In those cases, I definitely have an entire different game plan for them. You know, this is what you can do to get, you know, super high, and this is like, you know, some other stuff that will taste really good, and this, you know, I give them different options. When people come in, they definitely see way more options than they probably need at the time. I try to kind of try to whittle that down and then give them the best, you know, few options that would work best.
It's great. And with your experience, since you've been in the industry for a couple of years, you also have not only the your education from Oaksterdam, but also you won an award too. Excuse me, you won an award too. The braces messed me up, but you won an award as well. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I won an award in 2019 at the Budtender Awards in Las Vegas for Budtender of the Year. And yeah, that was just a really big year for me. I was everywhere in the cannabis industry. I was going to all types of events. I was helping several groups find their way in the cannabis community. I was helping, I was like speaking at an elderly group. So I was basically giving them a lot of information to kind of help them to find CBD and THC products that would help them with like neck and back pain and just other different stuff. And then I was helping a women's group as well. So that whole year I was just doing so many different things just all over the place and, you know, trying to pull in the votes. And sure enough, I ended up winning in Vegas. It was a pretty amazing experience. And definitely it was like probably one of the highlights of my cannabis journey so far.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really, you speak about it so humbly, but it's an amazing accomplishment because I'm sure many people aspire to even get to that level of recognition. But it speaks more about, again, as you mentioned, your patience with your clients, how you consult with them, your knowledge to really narrow them down and get them the best product based on their spending needs, based on their holistic needs. And certainly it just shows about how important it is to have a level of passion within the industry beyond just appreciating the product, but really wanting to service and take care of people.
True. I guess another part of that would be I also like to have fun. I'm not going to be like super serious the entire time. I definitely like to joke around. So yeah, being fun is always a way to make people smile, and smiling is contagious. So when you can make people happy and they can get the stuff that they need or want, it's always like a +1 or a cherry on top. Right. So I definitely always try to go for, you know, I try to be more lighthearted.
Yeah. It's clear that you enjoy what you do. And since you've, you know, gone through so many different levels of accomplishment and, you know, as we just mentioned at the beginning of the interview, now working at Windy City Cannabis, what's the ultimate goal for you? Like, what's the, you know,
my ultimate goal now is I've always wanted to be the buyer. I've always wanted to curate one of the dopest menus of all time with some of the most fire products you can ever find. But now I'm thinking I would like to be a GM. That's my ultimate goal, to be the general manager of a dispensary. I think that I would do very well, and it would be a job that I would show up for early and leave late for, you know, something that I would stay up all hours of the night to make sure everything was perfect for. And I think that's something that I'm looking forward to doing in the cannabis industry. But for now, I'm just focused on being a good cannabis consultant and getting my podcast and my vlog going.
Okay. And just for the people, what is the name of your podcast and the vlog that you're doing?
I haven't started the podcast. I definitely, okay. I'm not sure on how I'm going to go about that, but the vlog you can find on my Instagram, and there will be new episodes coming later this month.
Okay. All right. So we'll make sure that we put all those links in the post for everyone else that wants to follow William. You mentioned having a mentor kind of at the initial start of your journey. Can you talk about if you've ever had or experienced other mentors after and kind of what the impact has been having those people?
Oh yeah, I've had several mentors after and just a lot of heroes in the industry. Mm-hmm. One of my main heroes in the industry still to this day is Hashes Clay. You'll definitely have to look him up on Instagram, Hashes, Hashes Clay.
Right. We're not talking about Muhammad. We're not talking about the boxer, you know.
No, we're not talking about Muhammad Ali. That's the play on with his name. But right. I seen him on a Vice documentary, and he's just always been a really big help and like a big brother to me in the industry. And initially, it was a documentary about Gas House. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have not.
but Gas House is a company started by a gentleman named Kingston and Felix, two gentlemen, and it's a Black-owned company. They started in Atlanta, and they ventured west to Oakland to start their cannabis journey as well. And it's one of the biggest cannabis brands out there. So watching that documentary, I would say Kingston, Felix, and Hashes were like really big inspirations to me, just to see that there was like actually guys like going for it. And other mentors would probably be people like Steve D'Angelo. Steve D'Angelo kind of took me under his wing for the time that I was at Harborside. Every time he was in the building, I would always speak to him for, extended amounts of time, and he would always give me all types of insight and knowledge. So many different heroes and mentors. Luna Stowers, she's a amazing woman in the cannabis field. She's definitely one of my mentors, has always helped me in a lot of different ways. Amber Centaur, who's from Chicago, she is in California and has her own cannabis brand called the Congo Club. Another really big inspiration and definitely a mentor of mine as well. Yeah, I've had a few people who've definitely helped me along this journey, like for sure.
Yeah, sounds like you've met some really amazing people that not only can talk about it, but are also doing it,
Oh, yeah.
being able to lead by example and carving out their own lane, which is great. And you've encountered so much opportunity. Do you feel like there's any barriers for people in general or people of color?
Yes, I do feel there are barriers for people of color. A lot of times I feel like this is a barrier that we've placed on ourselves with cannabis in our own community. A lot of us have been persecuted for it so much that we don't see it the same way. So we don't see it as something that we can work with professionally and have our own stake in this cannabis field. I feel like a lot of us need to just go for it. Okay. Honestly, because then we would see a lot more of us in this industry and we would notice a lot more change. I've noticed over the last couple of years, a lot more of us are getting involved and starting to wake up and put our money towards cannabis ventures as well. So I think a lot of it is, our own thoughts on cannabis. It had a negative stigma, especially in our community for a good amount of time. Right. Especially with stuff like in New Orleans, being locked up for years for just a single joint. Right. So yeah, I think that now is the time for us to start to try, because a lot of us have been, even myself included, we're just like, nah, I'm not gonna try to do it legally when I'm already making money doing it illegally. I don't want to mess with that because it basically seems like it's not for us. It is for us. It is for us. And you just have to go for it. And when you do, you'll definitely find that a lot of doors may be closed, but there will be some that will definitely open,
Fantastic. Yeah. As you mentioned, there is a stigma and it's all kind of engineered, we get a general kind of view of it because of the policing, because of all the legalization against it growing up, and even the morality kind of around it, right? That it's the devil's this, is it's all these things.
All these little things.
And you can be alcohol or cigarettes,
and they're just fine.
You mentioned New Orleans, people go there and get drunk like on the street every night, So it's just crazy how a lot of that, in terms of just the generalized stigma, is really just reinforced for no reason. And now, now there's a way for people to make money off of it. Again, it's now.
But however, I also must say, it is very hard for us to get into the cannabis industry. Okay. I myself, William Brown, Budtender of the Year, have been applying to cannabis dispensaries since November when I got back. It is now March, That is how long it took for me personally to get into the cannabis industry back out here. If I was in California, it would have been like a snap of my fingers.
That is there something specific to Chicago that you feel caused the delay? Because I would think any person that ran a dispensary and wanted the best people want somebody who was Budtender of the year. Any context around that compared to California?
I must say, since I've been back, the client base as well as the staff here aren't very diverse. There isn't very much diversity. So why would you want to bring in that diversity when that could, rupture what you have going on already? I kind of see that kind of being the case here a little bit. There aren't very many African-American or people of color working in the cannabis industry out here that I've seen so far. There are some, but there are way more on the West Coast.
Okay.
Way more. And I think that's maybe where, where some people may feel a little bit discouraged.
Well, you are making a shift in that just with your persistence to penetrate the market here. And again, congrats for doing that.
Thank you.
My last question to you is what keeps you motivated? Despite the setbacks that you went through and worked from and achieved through, what keeps you motivated? And also any advice for people that are looking to get in?
Okay, so what keeps me motivated first? A lot of things, but my main motivation is my haters, sad to say.
Okay.
I'm definitely fueled by the haters. That's a lot of people that don't want to see me win. They may not be, people that I actually know, but we know how this country is. There's a lot of forces that be, and there's a lot of people that don't want to see me win. And that's what, fuels me to keep going. It gives me the hunger to keep fighting. And as far as people wanting to get in to the cannabis industry, my best advice is to learn as much as you can on your own. Try to get some type of formal schooling or knowledge, and then just go for it. Like really actually just go for it. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you wanna work with weed, that's stupid. Don't listen to any of them. Just go for it. And you'll probably find success as well, especially if you don't stop. The only way to actually find success is to never give up.
Yeah. And even with your story about how you got to a place of frustration after going through all that you went through, and you just said, you know what, I'm just going to walk into the university and just see what's out there. Sometimes finding opportunity is just as simple as walking in and saying, this is what I'm looking for. Can you help me? And you've been able to create a whole career, meet mentors, meet people, work in different parts of the country, and even ultimately cracking and helping to add more diversity here. But your dream of becoming a GM is even more in reach. So it's just great that you just have that tenacity to keep going.
Thank you. And that's something that I always plan to, keep with me, just to keep going and to just work hard and just, find my niche in this industry. And I'm definitely gonna be working hard this year on like my vlog. That'll probably be my main project. I want to bring some great cannabis content and show people, outside of Chicago, what the cannabis industry looks like here.
Fantastic. That's what it's all about. So many unheard voices. Well, on that note, you mentioned the vlog. Any other shameless plugs you want to add?
Nope, just one shameless plug at Nino LaFlex on Instagram. Okay. NENOLAFLEX, Nino LaFlex, and just follow up.
Perfect. Well, we'll include those links in the actual post. You can check out William, connect with him. Certainly check him out at Windy City Cannabis, where he is a Budtender and can give you that professional service that he described that made him one of the Budtenders of the year. So definitely want to check that out. Thank you for your time, William. Really appreciate connecting with you, you sharing your story with us, and just talking about it.
Thanks for having me, man. Thank you.
Really inspiring. To everyone else out there, again, this is Philip_. with the Budpass podcast powered by SimploPro. You can see here, merch is coming soon. But again, thank you for your time. Feel free to like and share and comment, and we'll catch up with you real soon.